blessed indeed. Jah provide all my wants and needs. I got the sunshine, rivers and trees.
When me see Jah, me see a way. Drastically straight from hypocrisy, I say, hey. Every man to them on a philosophy.
WEFM, the clean, fresh sound.
WhatsApp us or call us at 457-9997. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
Focus, young man, focus. Morning, Lyf. All right, wait. Good morning. We're back. Let's back to this morning's program. This is with a Lyf segment. Morning, Lyf.
Good morning, Roleza. Good morning, Maka. Good morning, listeners.
You recover?
From what? Ah, boy. keep from to you.
Keep from Maka,
yeah, say nothing yet. Good morning. So as we all know, I don't know if we all know, but the budget debate rounded up on Friday, with the government side basically approving the rounded off $1.9 billion budget, and it was usual politics. Opposition didn't support it, call it, describe it as not going to be effective. Then the government saying, well, this is what we're doing. It's gonna be usual politics, as we all know. But before the budget debate ending, Major Sinclair Lyf, who is the Minister of National Security, spoke extensively on the crime situation in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and basically outlined a lot of plans. And he mentioned the gang culture in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which I have always the former Prime Minister, Dr. Gonsalves, he did not believe that the groups of men that operate in St. Vincent could be described as gangs. He called them associated groupings, basically saying a group of fellas with the same kind of thinking coming together. I never subscribed that they were not gangs. They are small factions of what he described as associated groupings, but he was using the full technical term to describe gangs, which is not as simple as we think. If you Google the word gangs, it would give you a description of what is considered a gang. So he didn't believe that they were so organized. I always thought differently. I always said that I thought differently. One police officer, veteran police officer Trevor Buju Bailey, he also came out and said, well, we have gangs, which was against what the Ministry of National Security was saying, right? So then we saw Major Lyf in Parliament. He's talking about the prevalence of the 6 and the 7 gang, which are gangs in Trinidad seeping into St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And it's a serious thing, it's not a joke. And there are gangs in St. Vincent and the Grenadines with people heading them, with coordinated money-making efforts, with soldiers, people responsible for different things. And it's not something comfortable for a civilian to speak about. A civilian has to be very careful when speaking about these things, because the climate is such that you could end up putting your life in danger dealing with these, talking about these things out publicly. It's not a joke. A lot of people, some people are very, I don't want to say a very huge part of society, but plenty people think that this gang culture can't touch them and is something to laugh at, for want of a better word. A lot of people laugh at it, right? It's not a joke. Let me tell you something. The reason why I decided to speak about this topic this morning, right, is because I want people who listen to me to understand that is a serious problem and it's not a joke. I saw some guys over the weekend, right, going around with paint and painting out the fully the gang members. They like right fully six or whatever they represent or whatever on walls. And these guys thought it was a good idea to go around and film themselves painting out one of these sites, right? Let me tell you something. Tell people leave them kind of thing for the police. Let the police go around with the cameras and the paint and paint out these things. As a civilian doing that, you're not being very smart. These guys don't take these things as jokes. And if you're going to paint out a fully 6 sign, you better go look for a fully 7 sign for paint out too. Because the guys them, we just saw you paint out the fully 6 sign and not painting out the fully 7 sign, going to think it's a 7. That's how they think. A lot of these guys not very smart, right? The guys that go around and jump in the vehicles with masks and the high-powered weapons and going out and doing the shootings are not very smart. They have somebody pulling the strings. They're not very smart. They're not. All of them not able to reason with you. They know how to do one thing very well, and that's what they do it. And they know how to do it very.
Let me ask you a question because the way in which you're raising this. So is it a case where? So we've always been under the impression, well, not so much under the impression, but in the context of Vinci, when it comes to crime, certain criminal activities, unless it's burglary, robbery, and those type of things, we tend to say that crime is more targeted, like especially when it involves weapons, it's more targeted. So you're saying that persons who are involved in these gangs are no longer just targeting each other, but they could probably target a civilian for doing something like this, because this is definitely what we're not used to here in Vinci.
Listen, right? People seem to think that the guys only involved in killing one another, right? They are involved in killing one another. The killings, the shootings are targeted. So they may even just come and just shoot me or you or Maka. But the possibility exists that we could be standing next to someone who they're targeting and you get killed. It happened, right? And what people don't understand, the gangs, they don't only just sell crack, they don't only just sell weed. They are targeted robberies that they send people to do, and targeted burglaries that they send people to do. But I don't think people understand this. You think that okay, we saw a credit union being robbed on the leeward side of the island one time. It was a credit union robbery on the leeward side of the island. Was it Barely, one of those places? I can't remember.
Barely.
Then there was another one on the windward side of the island where the villagers came out and helped the police apprehend the suspects, and the villagers were beating the suspects, and people were taping this and putting it on social media with the suspects being beaten or whatever. I don't know how smart people think to be by doing that in a car. These guys are not jokers, right? And you think it was just a group of guys that just went? You think any of those robberies were a group of guys that just decide, like, sit on a block and decide, like, here we go and rob these places? We hear about other robberies all over the place. I think people seem to think it's just a group of 2 men sit on a block and say, we broke, now we go rob here, or we go rob there. You understand? But we have to be very, very careful, right? I know social media has created like a special breed of people. A woman would rather you like her picture on social media 100 times, and she will like that. And then you go up to her in the road and say, good morning, ma'am. Have a good day. And she cuss you because they don't value these things. They value likes on social media, right? So going around with a paintbrush and saying, we painting out this sign, 46, we don't want this in our community. It's all good. It's all good. Nothing wrong with that. And I'm not trying to silence anybody or control anybody or defend a gang culture. But you had to be sensible about it.
But
Lady police gonna do that.
Okay, so I could hear you and take your point about letting the police do it. But isn't this part of the problem where we no longer try to take control of our communities anymore? Now, yes, I know I could hear you thinking that you as a civilian trying to come up against persons in a gang might not be the smartest of ideas, but when we give in so much, and isn't this what is causing the escalation of things happening in society?
Don't get me wrong. Paint it out without the cameras. Paint it out without the cameras.
Okay.
You understand? Paint it out without the cameras. Let the police go around and paint it out with the cameras. A group of RIU officers go around, police go, they paint it out with the cameras, they explain why they don't want it. Let the police do that. That is the police job responsible for that. If you want to go paint it out, hide in the night and paint it out. They go get the same message. They go say, boy, somebody paint out with 6 and we don't know who. You understand? Where they with the camera for paint it out for? For prove what?
That we're taking back the community. Anyhow.
Okay. All right. Okay. So what about when the gang, what about when the members decide we take it back, we sign, and we like your frit? You gotta be sensible. Paint it.
I was going to say something. Right. Do you think that everywhere there is a sign, though, that there's actually a gang that is present? Because I made mention of 2 places this morning where, well, one is coming into the studio, I have to pass it, and one is if I'm leaving the studio, well, leaving where WEFM is, where we see them on walls and so forth. Do you think that is actually an indication of where the gangs are, or is it just a graffiti? I don't want to use the word style because style might not capture the correct thing.
I know what you mean.
Right.
Some of them are innocent. Some of them are just people, youngsters who listen to the music, the Cayman 6 and the Plumpy Bass or whatever. Listen to the music, very catchy music, very well put together songs, very good wordplay, very good beats or whatever. So some of those signs are just youngsters who like the music and write it up, right?
Life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just hold a point a minute and we just take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Good morning. I just want to weigh in on something that was said by your commentator. Lyf, good morning. How are you doing?
Morning, I good, Val. What's up?
All right. Okay, good. You know, Lyf spoke about persons, civilians, and documenting that they're wiping out the 6 and the 7 signs. And he's saying that is not wise. It's not smart. And I must agree with him. The reason why I say that is because when I heard the Minister of National Security spoke about the gangs infiltrating schools, the 6 and the 7s, I carried a news story and I decided to do research on 6 and 7s in Trinidad. And it's a serious thing because in relation to what Lyf just said, there's an article in the Trinidad Express that spoke about a radio announcer. He was denouncing one of the groups and calling them out for some of the violence that were being done in Trinidad. And their lives were threatened. You see, so it's kind of similar to what Lyf is saying there, where civilians go publicly and try to take away the street credit or try to take away the eligibility of those gangs. So yes, it's a good thing to take away the signs, but going public and doing it, they're seriously putting their lives at risk there with that. Secondly, we see that, yes, there's a development of the gangs in St. Vincent. I know in Trinidad there's a gang act that laws that how gangs should be dealt with. And I think something of that sort needs to be formulated in St. Vincent. It's all well and good we can say the officers or the laws maybe should just pick them up. But remember, there are laws. You can't detain someone over 24 hours or 48 hours without any due cause. But there still need to be some sort of law well, we should probably, take a page of the Trinidad book and create a gang law, a gang act. Secondly, I've been listening to persons and no one is actually talking about the music that is affiliated and associated with these gangs. The music plays a part in all of it. You would hear these artists glorifying the gangs, and the gangs would associate with a particular artist, and the artists would fuel them by singing songs that would say what they would do if this person infiltrates. And those same songs are being played on the radio stations here in St. Vincent. Now, some may say that, okay, if they don't hear it on the radio, they would hear it somewhere else. But at least having those songs out of the out of mainstream radio is at least one step forward, because there are vans that listen to, there are still some vans that listen to radio, and you would hear these songs on the radio. Now listen, Saturday morning, and it's interesting that this topic is coming up now. Well, it's not interesting because it was something that was trending over the weekend after the brawl at the restaurant. And I was at home in St. Charles, just having to have the radio in the background. And I was surprised to hear the same songs glorifying Six doing this, Six doing that on the radio. Now, mind you, let me add something else here. So we spoke about the Gang Act. As it relates to radio, I don't know if you all would be aware of this. There's a code of practice for broadcasting that was formed by the Standards of Bureau. And one of the, a part of the code of practice, it speaks about gang violence and gang music being played on radio. The meetings that were held, I can speak to that because I sat in as the deputy chairman of the committee that was formed by the Bureau of Standards. The meeting that was held had stakeholders, just about the whole cross-section of St. Vincent. We talk about youth groups, managers of radio stations, and other affiliates. And one particular manager of a particular radio station, without even calling names, they were there and they gave their commitment and they agreed that these songs do have an influence on persons, on individuals, more so the younger persons. And they gave their commitment that, everyone who sat in on those meetings gave their commitment that, they would try, or not try, they will make an effort to have songs that glorify gangsterism and other ills to be removed from their content, but you're still hearing it. The unfortunate thing is that we don't have a broadcasting commission with rules and standards, but the code of practice was a document that came about that these stakeholders gave their commitment in trying to at least help the situation when it relates to gang music and music that glorify other ills of society. So back to the original point, I really support what Lyf is saying there. People, yes, you're doing something good, but doing it for the likes on social media, you are putting yourself at risk, So that's just why I wanted to add this one into the topic.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Val.
All right, Lyf, we're just going to take a quick break to do the time check, and then we'll be back with more commentary this morning. All right?
Okay.
All right, so the time here in SVG, it is 8:02, and our time check came through the compliments of New Haven Funeral Home.
Death is a fact of life. Even though death is a fact of life, that doesn't make it any easier. When dealing with the loss of a loved one, you may try to be strong, but it's really hard sometimes. But that's just when the experience of the staff at New Haven Funeral Home can demonstrate their compassion and help to guide your family through the difficult time. So in your time of loss, call the New Haven Funeral Home at 457-1830 or 458-1467 or email newhavenfuneralhome@gmail.com. New Haven Funeral Home, SVG's preferred funeral home.
At First National Bank, we believe being first means putting you first. Your first home, we've got the mortgage. Starting your first business, count on our commercial loans. Dreaming of your first car? Drive it home today. Heading to college? Let's fund that first big step with a student loan. No matter the milestone, make First National Bank your first choice for all your loan needs. First in service, first in trust, first for you. Call us at 456-1501 or visit us in Heritage Square so we can help put you first. First National Bank, here for you.
Sparrows, rum of pure sophistication. Sparrows, rum, aged to perfection. Skillfully crafted and forged with time in oak barrels. A rum so divine. Discover authentic Caribbean rum. Sparrows, premium rum. Sparrows, full-bodied rum. Sparrows, pure sophistication. Discover authentic Vincentian rum. Sparrows, Premium rum.
Distilled and blended by St. Vincent Distillers Limited. Please drink responsibly.
Agents, Careers, Distributions Limited. WEFM, the clean, fresh sound.
What's up? Call us at 257-9997. Activated mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
All right, so we are back and continuing our conversation, our commentary with Lyf Compton this morning. All right, and we're looking at, or we're talking on the topic of the infiltration of gang culture in SVG. All right, so Lyf, you were addressing the comment that I was making about whether or not seeing the words or the wording, whether it might be an actual presence of the gang or if it's graffiti, and then you could probably talk a little bit more. Well, you had started talking about it as well, and Val brought it up about the music, the Trinidad music. Oh, Lord, hold on 1 second. That's me. Hold on. Go ahead.
Yeah. So for in some areas, it's just basically a youngster who might like the music and think it's funny to put up a 6 or 7 sign on a wall, right? But there are areas that are marked that everybody knows. That's 6 territory, that's 7 territory. And there are also 8 and 9, which are affiliated whether which way. Right? I don't think the level of intelligence needed to help fight this problem, the police even have it. Ask investigators who brought the 6 culture to St. Vincent or the 7. They won't be able to tell you. Ask them if these people are alive or dead still. They won't be able to tell you. Ask them the 6 and 7 areas that are affiliated with one another. They won't be able to tell you. Well, they might be able to tell you that one to some extent, but they don't really know the full extent of the thing. It's island connections and all of that. I don't think they know the islands. They think it's probably just Trinidad alone. You know, it's not a joke. And I don't want anybody to get me wrong and saying that people should not paint out the signs. I saying they should not paint it out and broadcast it. Because if you paint it out and you broadcast it, the people can see you paint it out. They might probably write it back, but they're going to see it paint out. They don't have to know who painted it out. Painting it out is enough to say, we don't want this here. You're playing some kind of big hero, you're posting it on social media. Okay. Every actions have consequences, you know. So I don't want people to get me wrong. Paint, if you want to paint it out and put it on social media, if it feels safe enough or whatever, do it. It's a free world. Social media is free. But I'm just giving a bit of advice. The youngsters involved don't really have the capacity to come and reason with you. Some of them can't read. Some of them can't write. Some of them would see the name and don't even know it's the name. And you know, and statistics show when you have people who function like this, they're not the best people to try to reason with. They lack basic reasoning skills. And they can only be controlled in some instances by the person who pulling the strings. The boss could say, boy, go sit down and behave yourself, and they go listen.
All right, we have somebody calling. Let's say this. Hi, caller, good morning.
Morning, Roleza, Maka.
Morning.
Live.
Morning.
I want to say that I have rejoined the WEFM family this morning.
Welcome back.
About a week or so because I had a death in the family.
Oh, okay. Our condolences.
Our condolences.
Something, Maka?
No.
Oh, okay. So I rejoined the WEFM family this morning. But I want to say one little quick thing in reference to what Lyf is saying. I agree with Lyf that to go and paint out the people thing is putting yourself at risk. But the question I have for Lyf, because Maka, you or Roleza may not be able to answer this, but Lyf may be able to, because he's a top journalist. Lyf, the question is this. I want to know what St. Vincent would lose if they reintroduce hanging in terms of what they would lose from the Europeans, what they would lose. Because I think they're using moral suasion to get these fellas to come around. To me, it's an exercise in futility. And I feel the only way that you can bring control to these criminals, because they want to refer to them as criminals. That's what they are. I believe that these people should be hanged when they commit murder and they exhaust and they've exhausted all of their appeals, and there's no more appeals for the Norway, take them to the gallows. And that's the only way you can bring some peace and quiet to the islands of the Caribbean. We are peaceful people. We don't need this kind of stupid behavior. So the question really then would be, what St. Vincent, and by extension the other Caribbean islands, will lose because, the Europeans got me under financial stranglehold. So what will we lose if we decide we can hang some people? That question is for you, Lyf.
I don't think we saw in Trinidad a few years ago. I don't think that would solve the problem because this might sound like a crazy comment there, but who are going to hang when you catch nobody? You understand? Who are going to hang? They hang 9 guys in Trinidad a few years ago. Guys that were led by a Trinidad and gangster mob boss called Dochedi. They hang 9 guys. I don't know if that was the last hanging in the Caribbean. I'm not sure about that. Legal hanging, I should say.
It
was. And it didn't change anything.
After the fact.
It didn't change anything. The situation got worse.
It was the last hanging, and the Trinidad government announced it after the fact. But it is not so much about prevention. It's about you do a crime, you pay
deterrent
time, or you get punished by hanging.
But they hardly catching them.
But then I suppose that's also something that you said. I think it might have been last week, Lyf, where some men or some guys involved in criminal activity have resolved themselves to go into jail. They will be fine with just going to jail. So so I know that Mr. Horn is proposing hanging, and Lyf is of the opinion it might not be a deterrent. But I suppose even when we have to look at an example of the criminal system in terms of persons going to jail, that too doesn't always seem to be a deterrent for many of them. So
certain states in the USA have it, and it's not really doing anything. I think that capital punishment like that is just to give the family some justice. That's all it does, basically. It gives the family some justice. It gives this.
Let me say this quickly, and then I can go. Executing people for committing murder is not a deterrent. It's a punishment. But the punishment can deter people.
Yeah, I know. It might deter some people. It might. Yes, no, I agree that. But I don't think the problem, as I was saying, has to be solved by we are a small country. Less than 100,000 people. It may seem from what the numbers say, and we need a strong crime fighting capabilities, aided with the introduction of forensics. That way we need to catch them first before we could hang them. Basically, we need to catch them before we could hang them.
Let me just. So, Mr. Horn, all right. So, thank you for the contribution this morning. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Lyf, sorry about that, but and this is not going against what you're saying. We have to catch them. We have to catch the right persons, because there's another side to this. And I've been involved in this mainly in the United States, where because of forensics, we have been able to show that people, if they were in a state, they would have been hanged or something like that. But because they were not, they had a life sentence and so forth. But then later on, DNA and other forensic found out they were really innocent. Yeah. So that being caught and the court finds you guilty because you didn't have a good lawyer, because you could have a good lawyer and get away with it. But if you don't have a good lawyer or the best lawyer, and the prosecution is really great, and the circumstantial evidence and the wave at the time, man, let's put somebody to death. Let's kill somebody right now. You know what I mean? And maybe that might have an effect. But what I'm saying is that you have to catch the right person. Don't interpret what I'm saying that I am weak on these particular issues. But
no, I agree with you.
I have seen so many instances, especially black men, being incarcerated or even being actually put to death and so forth, depending on the state in terms of the United States and certain other countries, because we don't know a lot about Central America and South America and some crazy things. You could imagine El Salvador and so forth, those other places. Basically, we got to make sure we catch the right person and not, because we need somebody caught, an innocent person is offered up as a sacrifice in that.
There's another spin on it. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that, right? I was in a conversation with this career burglar. He's a career burglar, admitted career burglar. And he said to me that he used to listen to people say that they're innocent. He said he went to prison several times. Not in wasn't in St. Vincent. He went to prison several times where he was from, and he would hear men in prison say, "Boy, I did not do this. I'm innocent," and he would laugh. Right? He said he stopped laughing when he was charged for 30 burglaries, and 10 of them he did not do. And then he saw another man charged for several burglaries that he did by himself. So he said that's when he stopped laughing and taking it for a joke, because he was telling the court, listen, I did this one, but I didn't do this one. And they didn't listen to him. They jailed him and all. And he said, I did not do them. And then I saw somebody charged for burglaries that I did, and I wasn't charged for them, and went to prison for burglaries that I did. So what you say makes perfect sense. And then, as I said, you have to catch the people. Them a lot of the murders in St. Vincent are unsolved. We had 40 last year. Then we had a year where we had 55. Then we had another year where we had another 50 something. Then we had another year when we had 40. How much of these are actually solved? Hardly any. And then sometimes the guys go to court and win. Don't forget that part. They go to court and win sometimes. They win on a technicality. They win because the circumstantial evidence was too circumstantial.
Yes.
They win because of lack of DNA evidence. They win because of lack of forensics. They win because they choose the wrong lawyer, as you said, and the prosecution lawyer is more vigorous and assertive. They win and they lose for various reasons, right? And as I said, there are guys in prison. There was an incident with a guy in Kittles. He was never known as a gunman. He was never known as a troublesome person or somebody that go do anybody anything. And he ended up get charged for murder that he didn't do because somebody who didn't like him told the police that they saw him do it. And everybody knew that he didn't do it. And the people who were responsible had it as a joke. And he eventually spent a good time in prison remanded before he won the case. When the guy came out, the guy was a foreigner. The guy came out and said that, you know, he was lying because he didn't like the guy. They had some kind of argument a couple of days before, so he decided to frame him for that. We see these things happening. The stories are out there.
Yeah, well, what do you think? So to zero back on the original part of the conversation, what do you think can be done in terms of direct targeted messaging for youth, for young people? What do you think could be done? Because we see some of them are glorifying the 6-7 gangs, or well, the other gangs that you also mentioned. But for me, I question whether or not they have a full understanding of the origins, number one, and if it's just a case of them just thinking that it, well, to use the word cool, I mean, I'm sure by now young people have a better word than that, but if they're thinking that it's cool to be a part of a grouping. So
it's different reasons, right? Some of them don't have no proper parental guidance, and it's a family thing. Like the gang is a family for them. Some of them just don't know better, right? Some of them just end up in a situation where, boy, I walking out upon a block, I see these guys doing this thing, they get involved in it. I think, like, I heard they said one day, I think it was Minister Chevron John, she said that the social groupings died in St. Vincent, right? Like to me, the homosexually kill off the scouts. People were scared to send the children to scouts because of homosexuality, because of the strong homosexuality incidents we used to hear coming out of that. And I'm not even pulling back that talk because I know that's a fact. I had interviewed Well, basically, they need jobs. A lot of the guys need jobs. They need training to work. They need proper home guidance. The social groups need to come back. The playing fees and the hardcores need to be lit in the night so they could go and use up energy. You understand? They said they spoke in Parliament about the lack of truancy officers. A lot of these guys are children 15, 16 that should be in school.
All right, let's put a pause there. We just take this call. It might be the final call. Oh, first person gone. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, and we need the forensics help. We need the forensics help to actually get them caught. We need that. So I had done an article, right, where I interviewed men who were involved in the serious criminal culture in St. Vincent. One of them was out of it, who had done a lot of stuff and out of it fully. One of them was in it fully still. And I had interviewed them, and both of them were telling us what we need to solve the problem. And the publication that I submitted to refused to publish the article because of who the speakers were, saying you're giving criminals a platform, totally not understanding the reasoning behind having something like this out in public.
But did you submit it to police instead?
Police, I put it on my Facebook page, right?
Okay.
We have a call.
I put it on my Facebook page.
Let's take this call live. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Yes, let me not waste your time. Dr. Thompson and I are the two oldest persons in the house at present. And Dr. Thompson, you should know about this, bullfighting. We are looking at it in the wrong way. Presently, we need to leave the young people alone and target the source of the problem. We got to take the bull by the horns. What we're attempting to do now is to grab the bull by the testicles, and that's not going to work. There's an old saying, adults create, children imitate. Look at the house, the honorable house. The former prime minister, now opposition leader, Mr. Cummins and Mr. Leacox, they are the bad men in the house. The young people look at these people and they glorify that activity. So let us lay off the young people and target a fish rots from the head. A lot of people are going to be angry with me this morning, but this is talking brass tacks. We got to take the bull by the horns and not the testicles. That could have very, very dangerous consequences. Dr. Thompson, I didn't mean to drag you into this, but don't blame me for being old like myself.
Well,
have a great day.
Although I think that multiple things can happen at the same time, huh? So.
Yeah, definitely. That is not a bad thing to say, right? But it's not just one thing. It's a group of things. It's a set of things you have to do to get this problem, to try to get this problem on the court. A set of things, it's not just one thing. But he did make an important point, right? But the guys them who leading up these organizations, you don't hear them getting caught. They don't get caught. They get a name call up, they don't get caught. When in Trinidad a few years ago, the then Commissioner of Police, Griffith, his name was, right? He had gone into an area and they had basically done what the public was calling extrajudicial killings, where they shot several guys in a house that were unarmed, which were gang leaders, and that's the state that Trinidad come to. The guys were executed. Everybody knew it. But it didn't solve the problem. These were the top guys. Coincidentally, one of the guys that was shot, he had adopted the name Dole Chady. He had taken on the Dole Chady name from the Dole Chady that was hung. He I think his name was Akim or something like that, but his name was Dole Chady. He had glorified the name and took the name, and he was one of the main guys behind the whole, I think it was a Rasta City faction of it. And the police shot him and two of his closest associates. They won't harm or anything like that. They kill them. But then to solve the problem, the next head spring out. It's like the movie you watch. The movie when you see Hercules like chop off the head snake and the snake grow back and another one grow back. That what has happened. You kill them like that. And somebody's gonna take over. Somebody's gonna spring up and take over. The USA has the RICO law, where they nab you for different offenses, a wide range of offenses, and then they get some serious time when they RICO you. They try to RICO Puffy, but it didn't work too well with Puffy. But it works It works when the FBI swoop down and they go into these organizations and they kill off the whole entire organization. But then what happened? Another organization takes a place. So it has to be a continuous fight. And right now, all what's happening is that the J is getting filled up with the people who is just the foot soldiers. They don't.
And the thing with persons going to jail as well is that in jail could be considered a university as well, because when it's information it's a form of networking. Let me just put it that way. It's a form of networking.
Because you're housing dangerous people. Listen, I went into the prisons recently, play some games and thing with the guys. It was a program, a mental health program that we go in there and play football and with the guys, right? And the prison authorities know who from which group or whatever, so they don't really house them together. They're housed in separate cells, but when they mix up together. And one of the guys told me, he said, yo, in here, we can't afford to be enemies in here, no. We only enemies on the street. When we see one another in here, we shout one another, we talk, we cool, we are fighting in here. But you don't know where we reach on the street is a different story.
So
that's his exact words.
So is it all about perception?
I don't even think people concerned if the enemy is inside it.
Well, no, you can't, because it won't affect us as much. But and then what could happen to is that from having this mindset in there that we in here together, we are fighting in here, this is where we live or whatever. Maybe they began talking to one another on an amicable level.
So then what?
And maybe when they come out the link, you know. So I just say, okay.
So then why is it a case of perception that is going to be when they come out? Do they need to have maybe that street cred that they are this way or that way? What's the reason? Because if people live together in jail, then why can't it outside?
You're gonna fight and mash up your house. You're gonna fight and mash up your house and make your house uncomfortable, and you are sleeping in your house with one eye open. Is your house is that where you live for the time being? You're gonna mash it up. You understand? When you come outside,
when you get into solitary, they're gonna probably hit you, beat you, whatever the case might be for any infringement and so. But outside, there's nobody there. I mean, you're old.
Prison warders.
Your parents ain't gonna slap you and beat you and so forth.
Okay, not to interrupt. You get solitary in prison, but there's certain guys that prison warders don't hit to, right?
Yeah.
Prison warders not hitting certain guys. Yeah. They know that's not sensible.
Because we are potential retaliation to them, you know?
Yeah. But they go put you in solitary and thing. But the guys don't really care about that part though. If they really means they're gonna fight, but they're just not gonna mess up the home. That's where they live.
But
you know what I mean?
But focusing on more the 6s and 7s, the age group we're talking about is what? It goes up to what? Is it extensive and so forth? It goes up in the 30s, 40s, 50s, or is it basically a youth component of this bigger gang?
These guys are headed. These youngsters are controlled by the older people, the older guys. The older guys is who control them. The older guys that sit down and they won't really go. They won't. Most of the time, 95% of the time, they want to go out and do it themselves.
There is an active program of recruitment. I mean, I remember one. I mean, I was in Haiti, and I picked this up speaking to somebody who was a gang leader but transitioning into politics. They were thinking of getting into formal politics. And sitting down, I don't have the time to really go into all the detail, but it was fascinating. But you need the support. You need to recruit. You need to canvass. You need to convince people that you will help them. You are not their savior, but you basically could lead them because no one else will. Them other people are not just Babylon, but those other people are basically entities you shouldn't hang around. And you know, it isn't necessarily good to go the right way. We are the right way, you know.
Yeah, there are stories where we see people change. I know many stories where guys change, just leave it behind. I told a story last week where the guy that changed and was walking, but he eventually got shot. Right? There are people who.
That's one of the points that I had raised in the first segment, where I wonder sometimes if so those who are fully reformed prisoners, or I shouldn't use the word prisoners, those who
gang
have
members.
done this sentence, right, or gang members, or those who have done this sentence, does the prison try to use some of these people who have, let's say, gone on the straight and the narrow to go into the schools or talk to young people, so that, maybe there is that one-on-one approach to say, okay, well, this is what I did as a youngster. This is what it did to my life, to my career, to my family, and everything else that expands from that. But have that one-on-one dialogue with young people. I mean, you won't catch everybody, but if you could safeguard at least one or two or three, it might be useful.
I will take a call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
We're good.
It's great. I just here to add my bit. It's an interesting topic. But as my piece is in terms, we used to have what you call, I think, the farmer administration. I watched community work. Right? Do we still have that? Do we think that helps?
Still have what?
In any way.
Still have
Neighborhood
what?
watch. Neighborhood watch.
Neighborhood watch groups.
Yeah, we still have, and we actually had a program last Thursday with that on Cop Chat. So yes, we still have. We have several.
But you think people will come back to give information if they see any crime take place, things like that? You think people will risk their life to come forward to give information?
That's the thing.
Yeah, but I think the police.
That's not a big problem.
Yeah, police have been trying, and they have been indicating ways in which you can give that information anonymously. But I suppose there needs to be further reassurance for persons from society.
And do you think that they give information, the information is confidential, and they have some form of protection, and the information that they give? Let's say the police are a house, a home, some political people in some criminal activities, and the police come and the person come forward and give the information. If the police make a raid and they caught anything, now they will want that to go court, and the person would not want to go to court. So there's the Witness Special Measures Act. There's something called the Witness Special Measures Act, where you could testify anonymously, remote and remotely, where they cover your face and they change up your voice or whatever. So there's the Witness Special Protection Act with that. But I don't know if it has been done effectively. But as you said, I don't know. They have lines you could call and give anonymous information. That you don't have to say your name, you don't have to give your number, you don't have to say where you're calling from. The police has that set up also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have that. But the question you're asking is if people trust it, or if people believe that the police better be able to convince you and speak on that. I can't speak on that.
Mm-hmm.
But I know they have it in. I know they have it I know they have it in place. And I know yeah, I know they have it in place. I know, but they have to speak. They would have to be the ones to come and speak on that and explain how it works and how they're able to leave people anonymous or whatever. They could probably fully speak on that, right? Maybe you could meet a police officer, you could ask them how it works, if it's safe or whatever, and they would help you. But from what they're saying, it is. They always encourage people to call and they don't have to give their name, they don't have to say who they are. And the Deputy Commissioner, Frankie Joseph, he had said that if you call and you want to give information at any police officer, ask your name, ask your number, ask your where you are, you should report it. You should find out who the police officer is and report the police officer. So apparently they take it very seriously when you try to give information anonymously and you don't want to give your name. No police officer can force you to give your name. They actually ask you to report incidents of that nature.
Okay, great. That's good.
Yeah.
Now, if you say the police could actually go to court with their face covered, right?
Yeah, and voice change. Yeah.
and the voice change. Because and the lawyer will want that boss to come up in the back to cross examine and so on.
You could, cross examine them over the
but it's
intercom or
remoted.
whatever.
It's remoted. They don't have to be present. They won't be present.
You don't have to be there. But you can't. You will be cross examined. But not. They want to know who they're speaking to, right? I'm not sure the technical of it, because like it's always important to see who is accusing you and why, right? Because you might always, as the Dr. Thompson was saying, that you could be the wrong person. So I don't know how it works. Yeah. As I say, they would be able to speak better on it.
Yeah.
I think police about a particular area home. I think this is what they should do. They should keep an eye out, check it out. You understand?
Surveillance. They're not good at that. They're not good at that. They're not.
Exactly.
Yeah. I met a guy. Yeah.
All right, let me just caller. All right, thanks for your contribution. Lyf, maybe like 3 minutes so we could wrap up. Doc, you wanted to come in on something that Lyf said?
Yes, Lyf, okay. I think this thing is so much more complex. I mean, for decades.
Very, very complex.
We've been following the Crips and the Blood.
For years.
Knew about in Central America, Mexico, and so forth. It's a natural progression that's going to come to the Caribbean. We have, I don't know what percentage of the initiators are deportees, who were part of a gang for survival and so forth. And when you're in these gangs, one of the creeds is that you can't leave. So when they talk about people who are leaving, they can't leave, because that's the code. You can't leave. You know what I mean? That's the code. You know what I mean?
Well, why is it that you can't leave?
Because you have
it's a blood oath. You have
infringed.
Oath.
Let me tell you, when I was in England,
it's a blood oath.
When I lived in England,
blood in, blood out.
Arsenal, when they played Tottenham, we went to the game, but afterwards there was a blood feud between the skinheads of Arsenal and skinheads of the stick the boot in and beat each other up.
Yeah. That's a big thing in England.
All over the world, so that when you are supporting an artist, a singing artist, and someone go and steal their song. And so, we had that over the last couple of years where somebody from Grenada sing a song from somebody from St. Vincent, and they're saying, well, it's mine, and I rarely sing it, and they get more play and so forth, and somebody gave it. Those things, that turf issue comes into place of belonging. I mean, we could go on talking about this in a much more complex way, but I think a lot of this, it's natural that it becomes imported because of the whole globalization of these type of things. And I've described it, but I don't really have the solution. That's the problem,
Yeah, nobody
have the injection.
Yeah, nobody has the solution. The solution is just you just have to just put things in place and hope that it works, right? You just set to wrap up. A few years ago, Cayman 6.
And touch on the point that I was asking about using persons who are reformed individuals talking directly to youngsters.
Roleza, if I wrote an article with guys telling you the root of the problems or whatever, and it was refused to be published, I don't think that the police or the people in charge reach that level yet. They need to though. They need to reach to that level where they use these guys to go and talk to people. They need to do it, but for some reason that hasn't been on the plate, right? Let me tell you something. I'm wrapping up, right? A few years ago, Cayman 6. From the 6 gang in Trinidad, one of the major artists there, he sang a song, F Prezi, and I mean it. Prezi was the boss for the other gang, right? And that created a spear of violence that mash up. You disrespect the boss plainly, right? And this thing is so bold-faced and prevalent now. The Sever group brings out a song, and in the intro it says, Cayman 6 refuses to take accountability for the amount of people that were killed because of his song. And that was the intro for one of the 7 songs, and they went out and talked about how much people they were killed or whatever. I'm just saying that to say this, right? The music has a big influence on it. Maybe we need to look at it, as Val said, with a commission, what is allowed to be played and what is not allowed to be played. But it's a string of things we have to do. We have to look at the music. We have to look at the socialization skills of the youngsters. We have to find them jobs. We have to get truancy officers to get some of these 15 and 16-year-olds off the streets. We have to get the forensics to help with it. We have to try to cut off the head of the snake, as one caller said, grab him by the horns and by the testicles. There's a string of things we have to do. We have to get, as Doc said, people, you said, as people to go into the schools and the prisons and the airwaves and talk about it, reform people. Our people who look into reform is a whole heap of things we have to do, but we just can't do. We just can't don't do anything. We just can't do the hard and fast thing where we run and beat up a youth man, catch him with a gun, send him in prison, and come back out and get a bigger one. You know, it's a string of things we have to do. You know, maybe the death penalty would get rid of some people, mindset about it, but we can't be hanging people. We have to do it. Then the more humane ways, there's the lethal injection in the States or whatever, because a lot of organizations kick up against the hanging. Inhumane, archaic, or whatever. It's a string of things we have to do, but we have to start somewhere and we have to do something, right? And another thing we have to do too, we have to build a good relationship. The police have to learn to build a good relationship with the public. That is, as I always say this, when senior police officers, right, make steps towards getting a good relationship with the public, some unprofessional junior officer always goes and breaks it right back down, and it's really hard to get back to where it was. Because the senior officers, most of them, have people skills and they talk to people and whatever. But then a junior officer go and slap a man on a block. Or kick down a man on a block. You know what I mean? Or lock up a man and try to frame him for something he do. So all of it's a string of things we have to do. Is not just a simple problem, and no government can come and say, we can solve this problem in one. They can't do that. That's not possible. It doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. It's not going to magically happen in St. Vincent and the Grenadines because we land the blessed. What you have to do is try to curb the incidents. If you get one person out of the gang culture, you get out. That's good. You know, but it's a problem and we can't really I have known it as a problem for the longest while. Right? I have known that. And I've spoken about it, but who is me? You know what I mean?
Oh, well, you're ending there in terms of these several suggestions that you put forward based on the entire conversation and contribution from other listeners as well. It sounds like it's a good starting point. Sounds like it's a good starting point. So let's see what happens there. So, yeah. All right. So with that,
the one with the music on radio, that one gonna be difficult.
Yeah. That's probably the most nonsense. That's probably the most nonsensical one. Are they going to play it on the phone? They can play it on YouTube. The DJs guy.
These youngsters don't really listen to radio anymore.
They don't. But then when certain songs come on the airways, is it a case where the youngsters are thinking then it's okay for me to listen to this or that? Right? The airways.
Planning only promotes it a little bit, you know.
They gone past that. That's probably that would probably be the least effective one.
Most of the time, the youngsters get the new songs more faster than the radio station.
Yeah. But then when we had that, when it was campaign season and both parties brought questionable artists, and the conversation was, is it okay? Was it a case of them bringing these artists a form of it's an acceptance? So that is the same way in which I'm looking at music played on the airways. Is it a form of us accepting it as being okay? Yeah.
And one of those guys in prison in New York right now on some firearm charges thing. Okay. One of the artists that was brought during the election. Locked up in New York. Yeah. So I think that music is very impactful, but getting them to stop listening, I don't think that one easy, right? It's a start. Maybe they could start looking at new stations, could start censoring it, but they're going to hear it anyway. They're going to listen to it anyway. So, we have to start somewhere.
Yep. Yeah, we do. All right, Lyf, it's almost an hour in this one today, but It was needed. It was a much needed conversation. But I do think that on another occasion we need to talk about maybe the influence of music itself, because I sort of hold a different opinion in a little bit of a way, but we could get into that another time. All right. So we want to thank you this morning for your commentary. And of course, we look forward to hearing from you again tomorrow morning. All right. So have a good one today, sir.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right.